There's a ton of noise out there. So how do you get decision makers to pay attention to your brand? Start a podcast and invite your ideal clients to be guests on your show. Learn more at sweetfishmedia.com.
You're listening to B2B Growth, a daily podcast for B2B leaders. We've interviewed names you've probably heard before, like Gary Vaynerchuk and Simon Sinek, but you've probably never heard from the majority of our guests. That's because the bulk of our interviews aren't with professional speakers and authors. Most of our guests are in the trenches leading sales and marketing teams. They're implementing strategy. They're experimenting with tactics. They're building the fastest growing B2B companies in the world. My name is James Carberry. I'm the founder of Sweetfish Media, a podcast agency for B2B brands, and I'm also one of the co-hosts of this show. When we're not interviewing sales and marketing leaders, you'll hear stories from behind the scenes of our own business. We'll share the ups and downs of our journey as we attempt to take over the world. Just kidding. Well, maybe. Let's get into the show. Welcome back to B2B Growth. I'm Logan Lyles with Sweetfish Media. I'm joined today by Jay Schwedelson, President and CEO of Worldata. Jay, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great. Thanks for including me.
We are very excited to have you on. You guys are doing a lot in the world of email marketing, especially in B2B. We're going to be talking about 3 specific things that B2B marketers need to be thinking about to improve their email marketing performance today. But before we jump straight into that, I would love for you to give us a little bit of context, what you and the team at Worldata are up to these days, and why you're the guy talking about email marketing today.
Sure. So Worldata, we've been in business for over 40 years now. We're about a 100-person organization, and we work with B2B marketers, helping them to execute acquisition marketing campaigns, mostly using email. So we're helping them to drive new lead growth, new customer growth, new subscriber growth, and we're in all the different target markets, whether it's SMB, mid-market, or enterprise. We're in every region around the globe. We're not an ESP, so we're not an email sending provider. We work with all the different email sending providers, and we source all the different email media that a marketer could need. So over the last 12 months, we actually executed on over 6 billion emails sent. So we take all of that data, and we actually have a research division that we aggregate all of that. So we come up with some really good best practice information that we can share with our clients, and we help them to execute on these campaigns to get those new customers coming in for whatever their audience is.
Yeah, I love that. A lot of data points to be able to go off of and then inform some execution strategies based on that. And so that really tees us up really nicely for our conversation today, because we're going to be taking some of those lessons learned from those data points of those millions of emails that you guys have been sending. And we're going to be talking about 3 specific things that you think that B2B marketers should really be thinking about in their email marketing campaigns, that's specifically on the acquisition side. So those are urgency, exclusivity, and timing. Let's dive right in with urgency, where that should be in the minds of B2B marketers as they think about their email campaigns right now, Jay.
People ask me all the time, what's the number one thing that could drive performance in an email marketing campaign if you're a B2B marketer? And without question, it's urgency. What we mean by urgency is that most cases, when you're sending out an email campaign, you have an offer that you're trying to drive home. Maybe you have a white paper that you're trying to get people to download. Maybe you have a webinar that you're trying to get people to attend. You have an offer. If you send out an email and the offer doesn't expire, there's no urgency for the person to take advantage of that offer. But if you have that offer, if you have that white paper and you say, free white paper, offer ends on Friday, right? And today's Thursday, hypothetically, you're like, oh my God, if I don't download this today, it's not going to be there for me next week. That sense of urgency, when you have an offer, completely changes your performance. Just by including the expiration period, let's say 2 days left, 24 hours left, just by including that expiration of time in your subject line, if you're a B2B marketer, your open rates on your emails will go up over 38%, just by letting people know when the offer can expire. So a big tip to email marketers in the B2B space is, if you're sending out a campaign, you have an offer, it needs to end. If it doesn't end, you're never going to get the performance that you want, because the recipient's always going to feel that they can come back to it later. And that's not what you want when you're trying to drive results.
Yeah, as they talk about on the sales side of the house, time kills all deals, right? Maybe there should be a segue to that or a parallel to that. Time kills all email opens or something like that. I love it, Jay. So tell me a little bit about the good and the bad, maybe, of where you've seen driving this sense of urgency done well, and maybe some pitfalls to avoid when you're trying to dive into this more and think about it, implement it in your email marketing campaigns.
Yeah, so a lot of times we work with marketers, they'll say, well, my offer really doesn't expire. So should I make it up that it expires? And I always tell marketers, look, you don't want to make up anything. You don't want to present a false reality. So if your offer, you don't have the ability to have it expire, to have it come to an end, there are still ways to play the game, so to speak. You could have, don't miss out, hurry up. You can say things that connotate time, that this is something you want to take advantage of now, even if you don't have the luxury of your offer actually expiring. If you're just having the bland, hey, I got a white paper, hey, I got a webinar, come check it out, nobody's going to check it out. They're going to be like, who cares? I'll see it the next go around. So if you don't have expiration, there are ways to be creative in what you're writing. And the number one thing is make sure you're including it in your subject line. There is no point to having an offer. There's no point to having expiration of your offer if you don't mention the subject line, because if you don't get the email opened, who cares what's in your body copy? You need that email open. So make sure the highlights are in that subject line.
I love that. Again, the parallel to, my time as a sales professional is, when you're setting an appointment as opposed to saying, hey, what time do you have in the next 2 weeks? Presenting a specific time, a specific day. And same thing here, working on that same psychology of a human who's on the other side of the phone or opening an email, going through that mental exercise. So let's jump from there, Jay, and talk a little bit more about exclusivity. You had some really good thoughts on this as you and I were chatting a little bit offline before we hit record.
Yeah. So in general, whether you're wearing your consumer hat, your business hat, it doesn't make a difference. What do people want? People want things that not everybody else has, right? So when the new iPhone comes out, everybody likes to be the first one to get that iPhone. Right? You don't want to be the last guy. You want to be the first guy. You want a sense that you're on the inside, a sense of exclusivity. B2B marketers are finding a lot of success by calling out the target audiences that they're marketing to in their marketing. So hypothetically, let's say you are targeting manufacturing professionals. You're sending out an email, right? That subject line, when it says for manufacturing professionals only, if you're the recipient and you work in the manufacturing industry, you're automatically going to look at that email and be like, wait a minute, I'm a manufacturing professional. I want to check this out. When you include the target audience criteria, the actual industry, or if it says for C-level executives only, when you include the target audience information that you're marketing to in the subject line of your emails, your open rates go up by over 25%. And the reason being is the recipient saying to themselves, wait, this is for me. It's not for this guy over here. It's for me. And that sense of exclusivity really drives performance because people don't have time to waste on things that aren't for them. And it's all subconscious. And that's what all this marketing stuff is all about. It's little tips. It's little tricks. There's never one silver bullet in email marketing that's going to change everything. But it's a series of little things like this that really take you to the finish line.
All right, today's growth story revolves around search engine marketing. And we'll be shining the spotlight on Aegis Software, a company that makes software for manufacturing operations. Aegis was one of the first companies in their space to invest in search marketing, but as competition grew, their performance plateaued. To counter this, they hired Directive Consulting, the B2B search marketing agency. With unparalleled experience in inbound lead gen for B2B companies, Directive was able to increase Aegis's monthly online leads by 457%, while at the same time lowering their cost per lead by 147%. Now I have a hunch that Directive can get these kind of results for you too. So head over to directiveconsulting.com and request a totally free custom proposal. That's directiveconsulting.com. All right, let's get back to this interview.
So Jay, talk to us a little bit about timing. At the time of this episode's release, people are probably, if they're hearing it when it first drops, it's early November. We're heading into the holiday season. So thinking about timing, not just in general, and how do you think about that with your email marketing campaigns, which maybe you could speak to a little bit, but I think there's some interesting things to think about as we head into the holiday season and year end, especially for B2B marketers.
Yeah, so often, it's a great question because so often B2B marketers, when it comes time to Thanksgiving, it comes time to the Christmas season, B2B marketers tend to say, okay, this is my dead time of year. I really can't play ball because this is all the consumer stuff. But the reality is, what's really interesting is that there's so much more internet activity. There's so much more activity in the inbox. It's actually a prime time to really focus on really cool campaigns. And the two reasons is number one, internet activity is way high. B2B marketers in general, they're wrong, but they tone down their campaigns because they think they'll be less responsive. So the inboxes are less cluttered and there's more activities. Now, is a B2B recipient, a professional, super likely to start buying new products and doing new things at the end of the year? No. But it's a great time to build up your lead flow. And what you can do, some of the best campaigns are look forward emails. A look forward email is when you have a piece of content that says, here is your roadmap for 2020. Here's a white paper on what it's going to be like for 2020 in your sector, right? These look ahead emails in the fourth quarter of any calendar year have a 45% higher click-through rate than any other offer in fourth quarter time of year for B2B professionals. So really think about what can you present as a piece of content that's a look forward for your industry, because that's what people want. They're all sitting there. They're feeling like, okay, how am I going to do it next year? How am I going to go next level next year? And you can give them that piece of content that can get them there. And oh, by the way, you're filling up your top of the funnel with some really good leads for your salespeople to then attack as you head into the new year. So don't turn your mind off because you're a B2B marketer to the holiday season.
I love it. That is fantastic advice. And, as promised earlier in this conversation, Jay, some great data points. I was taking notes there, and you mentioned back when we were talking about urgency, increasing open rates by 38%. And you just mentioned 45% higher click-through rates, right, there in look forward emails. So thinking about that combination, right, when you have more people opening, more people clicking through, that spells success for me in email marketing campaigns. Anything else you want to add for B2B marketers, especially this time of year, to be thinking about for their email campaigns, Jay?
Yeah, just back to the concept of no silver bullet. Everything we talked about today doesn't cost you $1 to do. You're talking about adding little words. You're talking about moving your content around a little bit. You're talking about targeting. You don't need to go out and buy the fanciest email infrastructure, the greatest email delivery platform to really radically change your overall performance and response rates on the back end. It's just a matter of testing the latest best practices that are always changing, tweaking a few things here and there, and you could really see a dramatic rise in your performance.
Yeah, I love it, Jay. This has been really helpful for me. I know we've been, working more to engage our community here on B2B Growth with our weekly email, the B2B Growth Big Three. And as we've been building out our network of shows, one of the big things that we've been looking to do is to up our game on email and engage that community there. So what you've been sharing has been helpful for us. I think it's going to be really helpful for listeners. So I really appreciate you letting me pick your brain for the sake of our listeners today. Would love to hear a little bit more about what you're putting into your brain lately. One of our core values here at Sweetfish is never stop learning. So whether it's related to email marketing, marketing in general, professional development, or just personally, I would love to hear from you a resource that listeners should have on their radar that's really got you excited or helping you improve lately.
Yeah, so it's an interesting question about resources and things that we've been thinking about here. A few years back, we talk about subject lines so much, and we give out so much advice about subject lines, and there's so many different articles and things out there. We said, there's got to be a resource that we could develop that we can give out to the industry for free that can really help. And so we developed something that's totally free that you can go and use right now. It's called subjectline.com. That's the name, right? And when you go there, we developed this for the specific reason of being able to find the best practices. So you can go there, you could put your subject line into subjectline.com, and it will instantly give you a score on how good or bad your subject line is, leveraging every best practice that exists. So you can know even before you hit send, is this thing going to work or not work based on a lot of these things. So we created a resource for the industry so we can allow people to really get that information out. We've now checked over 7 million subject lines. But the other cool thing about it, and the reason I go there so much, is that people now submit their articles to be posted on there. And I learned so much from the articles that are posted on there. So it's a great free resource. And I strongly encourage everyone to check it out at subjectline.com.
Awesome. We'll definitely link to that in the show notes, make it easy for folks to find that, Jay. Appreciate you sharing it. For anybody listening to this, Jay, that would love to stay connected with you, learn more about what you guys are up to, or just stay connected with Worldata, what's the best way for them to reach out or stay connected with you guys?
Awesome. So 2 ways. You can go to our website. We have a great resources tab. Our website is Worldata with 1D. So WORLDATA.com. And if you go to worldata.com/resources, we have on-demand webinars, infographics, all sorts of cool stuff. And if you ever want to just email me, it's real easy. It's JAYS@CorpWD. So JAYS@CORPWD.com. And I love talking about email. It's what I do all day long. So, it's always fun.
Awesome. Jay, thank you so much for being a fantastic guest on the show today. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for the time.
We totally get it. We publish a ton of content on this podcast, and it can be a lot to keep up with. That's why we've started the B2B Growth Big Three, a no-fluff email that boils down our 3 biggest takeaways from an entire week of episodes. Sign up today at sweetfishmedia.com/big3. That's sweetfishmedia.com/big3.